We talked here last week about the Kansas City Chiefs and if we thought they were going to be able to maintain that undefeated streak going forward, going to Buffalo to play the Bills. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, all three of us said that we thought they were going to lose in Buffalo. Turns out we were right. K-Walk, when you look back at that game, how do you feel? What's your breakdown on the game, and how do you feel about the Chiefs going forward?
It's just the Bills finally, with the Chiefs, things finally went the Chiefs, the opposing team's way against the Chiefs. Because usually in that late game, we saw the game at late, Taylor, who gets away with a lot of false starts, who gets away with a lot of holding calls. Finally, it cost them in this particular game. You know, we talked about being rigged. I don't know. I don't think it's being rigged. But when you look at the game as a whole, Josh Allen came out and kind of was Josh Allen I didn't want to see, that Superman type Josh Allen, because he had his weapons there. Amari Cooper was finally back. James Cook was playing, was doing his thing as well. The defense surprised me for the most part. But when you look at this team, a lot of people are saying this is probably the worst 9-0 team going into this game that we've seen in a long time. They didn't look like a 9-0 team. Yeah, they were winning late, costly penalties by the opposition, and then taking advantage of that, of the opportunities there. So when you look at this game and you just saw a team in the Bills that were more determined, to win, they felt like they had to get that monkey off your back, if you will, type deal. They were at home. Bills Mafia was loud and proud of that team, and I'm rooting for the Bills because of the fact of the matter is, I'm, as a Niner fan, I just can't stand the Chiefs. We can't beat them. I just want to see somebody else do it. But for the most part, I just think that we're not seeing that Patrick Mahomes that we've seen in the past. I mean, we've seen glimpses of him throwing backwards passes, no looks, things of that nature. But for the most part, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough against this game. And I think when you look at the Buffalo Bills, it's a confidence booster right now. And you got to ask yourself, I know we're going to get into another game, in the AFC that took place. And you got to ask yourself, are the Bills the favorite to come out of the AFC right now?
Yeah, man. Like I'm glad you mentioned the Chiefs, like, because I didn't want to think I was crazy when I was thinking this. But you remember the Steelers a couple years ago, and I think they were like 9-0 or 10-0,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "This might be the worst 10-0 team."
Mm-hmm.
And like, no one really believed that Pittsburgh
Right.
was dangerous, even though they were undefeated. That's kind of how I was feeling about Kansas City this year. Like, even though it's a different situation, two-time Super Bowl champ, Patrick Mahomes, all that, just the way they were winning just did not impress me. You give them credit because they were finding a way to win,
Yeah,
but they didn't feel dangerous. They didn't feel scary to me. So that's part of the reason why I thought Buffalo would beat them. I'm not sure how confident I am in them going forward. Like, in terms of completing the three-peat, I don't really see it happening. But Britt, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs? Are you surprised they lost? And then I guess, how confident are you going forward in the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yo, I'm about to gloat for about 2 seconds here because I could have sworn about a few weeks ago, Jay, I don't think you was on. I think you were out doing something, but K-Walk, I believe you were on. And I said the Chiefs don't look the same to me this year.
Yeah.
I literally said that. I done got messages in my DMs. People said I was crazy. And I'm just like, it does not feel the same. They're not performing the same. And I mean, on both sides of the football, the last couple years, even if the offense wasn't super strong outside of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, their defense will pick them up. They will really hold them. And they're holding them again this year, but it just doesn't seem the same on both sides of the football. And Jay, you don't have to go as far back as the Steelers. Just go back to last year where we said the same thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. They started off 10-1 and they were just finding ways to win. And I think each game they would win no more than what? It would be 6 points, maybe 7 points. It seems so much similar. Now, the difference is you do have Andy Reid, you do have Patrick Mahomes, and maybe they'll be able to figure it out. Like, I don't see them going on a 6-game losing streak towards the end of the season. First of all, their schedule is just way too easy for that. But I don't feel like a three-peat is going to be this year. I honestly don't. Patrick Mahomes is not performing, like K-Walk said, up to what we're used to seeing. Um, Everybody was hyped up about Xavier Worthy and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, he's a decent player. He's just the speedster to me right now. Again, he's a rookie, he'll learn, but to me right now, that's all, he's just a speedster. DeAndre Hopkins, it looks like it's taking him some time to really come along. He's a fantastic talent. We all know what he's capable of doing, but things just aren't, I don't know, it's not gelling quite right now. And then that offensive line is not what it was. Like they got some cracks in this offensive line. So for me, I'm in 100% agreement. I've been saying this. It just doesn't feel the same as it did the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And defensively, you're right, Britt. I think they've played really well on defense. I mean, I think their defense is kind of what they've been hanging their hat on. Offensively, they just have been out of sync. They haven't really found ways to get the ball to Worthy. I know they this past weekend they did get him involved a little bit more, but they have just seemed off to me. But I guess K Walk though, I guess as long as 15 is the quarterback, I guess you really can't count him out. But he's also been kind of a little bit careless with the football this year too, as well. What is there something wrong with Mahomes, K-Walk? Is he just not playing well? Do you see him turning it around? What's your sort of your evaluation on him?
Yeah, I think they can definitely turn. You can never count these guys out. Britt mentioned it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, and it's Travis Kelce. Even though they've been a shell of themselves for the most part. But you mentioned it earlier, Jay. It's all about wins and losses. You know, when we're talking about Philadelphia, so that's what it's about right now. And I think they're just playing with their food. I don't know what it is, but you look at Travis Kelce's numbers, they are way down, way down. My fantasy team could attest to that, along with Patrick Mahomes. But all seriousness, they're just not clicking, man. I don't know if they're trying to work on different things. End game. Maybe they just think they're that. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, to be honest with you. But it just seems like when you don't get Travis Kelce the ball and you're in tight games, and Travis Kelce is under 50 yards receiving and under 5-6 targets. That's telling you something, because he finds a way to get open. No one really schemes for him. They try to, but Patrick Mahomes has that ability to get outside the pocket to buy time, and Travis Kelce has the knack. They have that chemistry of finding a way. You can't really scheme for that, that scramble drill, if you will. So but I think they'll be all right. I still don't think they're the favorites. I got another team in mind. I know we'll talk about it in a moment, but I think they'll win a division. I think they'll win a division, and they'll get a number one seed. I think they'll be the number one seed. But once playoff time comes, I think we're going to see a little different Kansas City Chiefs team, because, like Britt said, their schedule favors them going forward.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead, Britt.
I think they're beatable. Like you guys said earlier, nobody is scared of them. In my opinion, to me, they're beatable. And we haven't said that a long time about the Kansas City Chiefs. We probably really don't say it at all much. But to me, they are very beatable. And it just so happens that against the Bills, they got caught. To me, in the previous games where they should have lost, the opposing team just missed out on their opportunities between turnovers or whether the Chiefs turned the ball over, lucky field goal blocks at the end of the game.
Someone's foot too big or didn't wear the white shoe.
Exactly. No Burrow turning a ball game at the end of the game where they should have just been able to run the clock out and ended that game. So, but the Bills said, no, not today. Y'all gonna make all those mistakes against those teams, not against us, because we're gonna take advantage of every opportunity that we have. And you're showing your true colors this year. So, and that's how I feel about them.
No, I think beatable is the perfect way to describe them. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, they're still a 9-1 football team. So we don't want to rain on their parade too hard.
Look at their schedule ahead of them.
But
I mean, we did say they still got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
That's right. So